The world doesn't run on justice. It runs on strength, fear, and calculated advantage. You can either be a player or the piece being moved. Power doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who plan while others dream, strike while others hesitate, and endure while others break. If you want to rise above the masses, you must stop playing by their rules. In this video, I'll reveal 10 steps to build absolute power, the kind that cannot be challenged, only obeyed. So must subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind. And tell us, where are you watching from? Let me share with you a truth that the weak-minded refuse to accept. Power is not a virtue, it is a force. Like gravity, it exists whether you believe in it or not. It shapes every interaction, every relationship, every outcome in your life. And just as the laws of nature care nothing for human morality, power operates beyond the boundaries of good and evil. You see, most people live in a fantasy world. They believe in fairness, in justice, in the triumph of right over might. But look around you. Look at history. Look at the real world operating beneath the thin veneer of civilization. What do you see? Power. Raw, undiluted power flowing like an invisible current, shaping destinies, determining who rises and who falls. The first step to building absolute power is understanding its true nature. Power is not what your teachers told you. It's not what your parents wished it to be. It's not what society pretends it is. Power is the ability to shape reality according to your will. Nothing more, nothing less. Consider this carefully. Every interaction you have, from the most mundane to the most significant, is a power dynamic. When you ask for a raise, when you negotiate a deal, when you try to influence a decision, you are engaging in a power play. The question is not whether you are playing the game of power. The question is whether you are playing it consciously and effectively. Here's what most people don't understand. Morality is often a weapon wielded by the weak to constrain the strong. They cry unfair when they lack the strength to compete. They appeal to ethics when they cannot win by force. They preach kindness when they fear confrontation. This is not to say that morality has no place, but understand it for what it often is: a strategy, a tool, a means of control. But let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how those who denounce power the loudest often seek it the most desperately? How those who preach against ambition harbor the deepest hunger for control? This is because they understand, at least subconsciously, that power is the ultimate reality of human interaction. To build absolute power, you must first strip away these illusions. You must see power for what it is, neither good nor evil, but simply essential. Like water to fish, power is the medium in which all human affairs swim. Those who pretend otherwise are either naive or attempting to deceive you. The truly powerful understand this. Power does not answer to justice. Justice answers to power. Power does not yield to truth. Truth yields to power. Power does not serve right. Right is defined by power. This may sound harsh, but nature itself teaches us this lesson. Does the lion consider the rights of the gazelle? Does the storm respect the wishes of the trees it uproots? You must grasp this fundamental truth. Power is not granted. It is taken. It is not inherited. It is seized. It is not deserved. It is claimed. Those who wait to be given power will wait forever. Those who expect power to be bestowed upon them because they are worthy will die disappointed. But here's what separates the truly powerful from mere force: understanding that power, like any force of nature, follows patterns. It has its own logic, its own rules, its own principles. Just as a sailor must understand the wind to harness it, you must understand power to wield it effectively. The first principle is this: power responds to power. It respects nothing else. Not goodness, not wisdom, not talent, only power. This is why the kind are often crushed, the wise are often ignored, and the talented often serve those less gifted but more powerful than themselves. Remember this: Every time you defer, every time you submit, every time you yield when you could stand firm, you are not being virtuous, you are being weak. And in the realm of power, weakness is not a temporary state. It is an invitation to be dominated. So begin here. Begin by seeing power for what it is. Begin by acknowledging its central role in human affairs. Begin by accepting that if you do not pursue power consciously and deliberately, you will be subjected to the power of others. This is not a choice. This is not a philosophy. This is reality. In the coming chapters, I will show you exactly how to build and wield power. But without this fundamental understanding, that power is a force, not a virtue. All the techniques and strategies I share will be useless. You cannot master what you refuse to understand. You cannot wield what you fear to grasp. Look in the eye mirror. What do you see? A moral being hoping to be rewarded for your virtue, or a force of nature ready to shape reality to your will? The choice and the power is yours. Reality bends to perception. This is not philosophy. This is power. In this chapter, I will reveal to you one of the most crucial principles of power, the mastery of appearances. For what people believe is far more important than what is true. Think carefully about this. Have you ever wondered why inferior leaders command respect while superior ones are ignored? Why mediocre ideas spread like wildfire while brilliant insights die in obscurity? Why the appearance of power often proves more effective than power itself? The answer lies in the art of perception. Let me share with you what most will never understand. Humans do not respond to reality. They respond to the appearance of reality. This is not a flaw to be corrected. It is a weakness to be exploited. The masses, and even those who consider themselves above the masses, are moved not by facts but by impressions, not by truth, but by show. Here's what most people don't understand. Every great leader, every powerful figure throughout history has been a master of appearances. They understood that power is theater, and those who cannot perform will never command. This is not deception. This is the highest form of truth. For in the realm of power, appearance and reality are one and the same. Consider this. When you enter a room, what do people see? Do they see your potential, your intelligence, your worth? No. They see what you project. They see the story you tell without words. They see the power you claim through your presence. Master this, and you master them. The first rule of appearances is this: never show power in its raw form. Raw power frightens and repels. Power must be clothed in what people expect, what they respect, what they fear. Like a sword in an ornate scabbard, your power must be wrapped in appropriate appearances. But let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how the truly powerful never seem to be trying to appear powerful? This is no accident. The second rule of appearances is that true power never strains. It does not announce itself. It does not justify itself. It simply is. Learn to project power not through effort, but through its absence. The mask of virtue is your greatest weapon. Understand this. People want to believe in virtue. They desperately need to believe that power flows from righteousness. Give them this belief. Let them see in you what they wish to see in themselves. This is not hypocrisy. It is necessity. Learn to cultivate strategic ambiguity. Never let them know your full measure. Keep them guessing, wondering, speculating about the depths of your power. For the power they imagine you have will always be greater than the power you can demonstrate. Your reputation is your shadow. It arrives before you. It follows after you. It grows or diminishes without your direct control. But unlike your natural shadow, this one can be shaped. Craft it carefully. Let it speak of capability, but not boasting, of power, but not brutality, of ambition, but not greed. Master the art of calculated displays. Power shown at the right moment in the right way to the right audience multiplies itself through perception. But power revealed carelessly diminishes itself through familiarity. Choose your moments. choose your stages, choose your performances. Here's a truth that the naive will never grasp. Consistency is the enemy of power. The powerful must be capable of being many things to many people. To some, you must appear ruthless. To others, merciful. To some, a friend. To others, a feared enemy. All of these appearances must seem genuine. All must serve your purpose. Learn to use silence. Learn to use mystery. Learn to let others fill in the blanks with their own fears and hopes, for the power others imagine you have is more potent than any power you could display. Their imagination will always exceed reality. Let it work for you, not against you. Remember this: every gesture, every word, every silence is part of your appearance. Nothing is neutral. Nothing is without meaning. Nothing is unobserved. The truly powerful understand that they are always on stage, always performing, always projecting power through the lens of appearance. Control your face, control your voice, control your posture. These are not mere details. They are the vocabulary of power. Through them, you write the story others read when they look at you. Make every element tell the story you wish to tell. But beware, appearances must have substance behind them. Empty shows of power fool only the most desperate and dim-witted. Your appearances must be built on real capability, real intention, real power, even if that power takes a different form than what you project. Study those around you. Watch how they respond to different appearances of power. Some bow to brutality. Others yield to subtle suggestion. Some respect tradition. Others worship innovation. Learn these patterns. Use them. Adapt your appearance to your audience while keeping your core power intact. The ultimate mastery of appearances comes when you no longer need to think about them, when the projection of power becomes as natural as breathing, when you can move between different masks, different roles, different appearances with the fluid grace of a dancer. For in the end, this is the truth about power and appearances. They are not separate things. The appearance of power, properly managed, properly projected, properly sustained, becomes power itself. Master this understanding, and you master the world. The strong do not flinch. Remember these words, for they contain the essence of power. In this chapter, I will teach you how to build emotional armor so impenetrable that neither praise nor insult can pierce it. For the greatest weakness in your pursuit of power lies not in your enemies, but in your own emotions. Consider this truth. Every time you react emotionally, you surrender power. Every time you show anger, you expose weakness. Every time you seek approval, you subordinate yourself to the judgment of others. The truly powerful understand this. Emotions are tools to be used on others, not forces that use you. Here's what most people don't understand. Emotional control is not suppression. It is not denial. It is mastery. It is the ability to feel everything but show only what serves your purpose. It is the power to turn your emotions from masters into servants. But let me ask you this. How many times have you lost an advantage because anger clouded your judgment? How often have you missed an opportunity because fear held you back? How frequently have you compromised your position because you craved approval? This ends now. The first step to becoming emotionally untouchable is understanding that most emotional reactions are habits, not necessities. You were not born flinching at criticism. You were not born craving praise. You were not born fearing judgment. These are learned responses, and what is learned can be unlearned. Train yourself to pause before reacting. In that pause lies power. In that moment of stillness between stimulus and response, you find the space to choose. This is not natural. It must be cultivated. Start with small provocations and work your way up to larger ones. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you strengthen your emotional armor. Learn to observe your emotions like weather patterns, present but distant, powerful but passing. When anger rises, watch it. When fear emerges, study it. When desire burns, examine it. Do not suppress these feelings. Understand them, for in understanding lies control, and in control lies power. The second step is mastering your face. Your face is a weapon and a shield. Learn to use it as both. Practice. The art of the neutral expression, not blank, not cold, but calm and unreadable. This is your default state. From here, you can choose to show emotion when it serves you, not when it controls you. Develop what I call the power pause, that moment when others expect you to react and you choose not to. Let their words hang in the air. Let their expectations go unfulfilled. Let their own imaginations work against them. For in that silence, in that stillness, you demonstrate a power greater than any reaction could convey. Remember this: those who anger you control you. Those who can predict your emotional responses can manipulate you. Those who know your emotional triggers own you. This is why the first principle of power is emotional sovereignty. Without it, all other forms of power are built on sand. Here's a truth that will serve you well. Most attempts to provoke you are tests. People probe for emotional weakness the way a hunter probes for physical weakness. When you remain unmoved, you pass the test. When you react, you fail. And in the game of power, failure carries a high price. Learn to find pleasure in your emotional control. Every time you maintain composure when others lose theirs, every time you stay silent when others expect you to speak, every time you remain still when others expect you to react, savor it. This is power in its purest form. But beware, emotional control must never appear forced. It must seem natural, effortless, innate. The moment others sense you straining to maintain control is the moment they know they can break it. Practice until control becomes your default state, not a mask you wear. Study those who have mastered this art. Watch how they handle provocation. Notice how their emotional control magnifies their power. See how others interpret their composure as strength, their silence as wisdom, their stillness as authority. This is not accident, it is design. Understand this: emotional untouchability is not about becoming cold or unfeeling. It is about choosing when and how to show emotion. It is about using your emotions as tools rather than being used by them. The truly powerful can be warm when necessary, stern when needed, inspiring when required, but always by choice, never by compulsion. Transform criticism into fuel. Transform opposition into opportunity. Transform attacks into advantages. This is the alchemy of emotional untouchability. When others see that nothing can disturb your composure, they will think twice before challenging your power. Here's what separates the truly powerful from the merely strong: the ability to use emotional control not just as defense, but as offense. Your calmness in the face of their anger, your silence in the face of their protests, your composure in the face of their chaos, these become weapons more potent than any show of force. Practice this daily. Start with small irritations and work your way up. Train yourself to find amusement in attempts to provoke you. Develop the habit of responding to emotional attacks with calm curiosity rather than defensive anger. Make your emotional untouchability so complete that others exhaust themselves trying to penetrate it. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth. About emotional control, it is not just about protecting yourself from others' influence. It is about becoming a force that influences others through its very immovability. When you become emotionally untouchable, you become truly powerful. Remember, the strong do not flinch. They do not react. They do not reveal. They choose. They control. They conquer. Not through emotional suppression, but through emotional mastery. This is your path to power. Walk it with purpose. Self-reliance is your first empire. Before you can command others, before you can bend circumstances to your will, before you can shape the world, you must build an unshakable fortress within yourself. This is not motivation. This is power. Here is what most people don't understand. External power without internal sovereignty is an illusion. Like a castle built on sand, It will crumble at the first real challenge. Your mind, your habits, your discipline, these are the foundations upon which all other power must be built. Consider this carefully. Every great leader, every powerful figure throughout history, possessed one common trait. They were masters of themselves before they became masters of others. They understood that internal chaos breeds external weakness. The personal discipline precedes public dominance. Your daily routine is not merely a schedule. It is a declaration of power. Every morning you rise before necessity demands it. Every task you complete with precision. Every impulse you master rather than serve. These are bricks in your internal fortress. This is where power begins. But let me ask you this. How can you expect to command others when you cannot command yourself? How can you expect to build an empire when your own mind is a republic in revolt? The first territory you must conquer is the space between your ears. Build your fortress with these walls. First, the wall of routine. Your day should not be subject to whim or circumstance. It should run like a military campaign, each hour assigned its purpose, each action its place. This is not restriction, this is power. For in routine lies reliability, and in reliability lies strength. Second, the wall of solitude. Learn to be alone with your thoughts. Learn to make decisions without consultation. Learn to act without validation. The masses fear solitude. They run from it into noise, into distraction, into the comfort of others' opinions. Master it, and you master yourself. Third, the wall of self-sufficiency. Eliminate dependencies. Every need you have is a lever others can use against you. Every desire you cannot control is a weakness waiting to be exploited. Train yourself to need less, to want less, to require less from the external world. Fourth, the wall of mental sovereignty. Your thoughts must be your own, not echoes of others' opinions, not reflections of others' fears, not products of others' expectations. Think deeply, think clearly, think independently. This is the source of all original power. Here is a truth that will serve you well. The world will test your fortress. It will send storms of doubt, armies of distraction, sieges of chaos. Your internal fortress must be strong enough to withstand not just one assault, but years of continuous attack. The key to building this strength lies in daily reinforcement. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, you strengthen your walls. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you deepen your foundations. Every time you act from internal conviction rather than external pressure, you raise your towers. Learn to find pleasure in this construction. There is joy in watching your fortress grow, in feeling your internal strength increase, in knowing that you are becoming more powerful day by day. This is not the fleeting pleasure of indulgence. This is the deep satisfaction of mastery. Understand this. Your internal fortress must be both defensive and offensive. Defensive, because it must protect you from the chaos of the world, from the manipulation of others, from the weakness of your own lesser nature. Offensive, because it must serve as a base from which you project power into the world. But beware, building your fortress is not about isolation. It is about creating a position of strength from which you can engage with the world on your terms. Your fortress should have gates, but you should control when they open and for whom. Here's what separates the truly powerful from the merely strong: the ability to maintain their internal fortress even while engaging with the external world. They do not need to retreat to be strong. They carry their fortress with them wherever they go. Remember this: every great achievement begins with internal order. Every lasting power grows from personal discipline. Every empire rises from the foundation of self-mastery. Your internal fortress is not just a refuge, it is the source of all your future conquests. Train yourself to return to your fortress whenever you feel power slipping, when chaos rises, when pressure mounts, when challenges multiply. Retreat behind your walls, not in fear, but in strategy. Gather your strength, assess your position, plan your response. For in the end, This is the ultimate truth about power. It flows from the inside out, never from the outside in. External power without internal fortress is like water in a broken vessel. It leaks away at the first crack. But power growing from internal strength is like a spring that never runs dry. Build your fortress, strengthen it daily, guard it jealously. For from this citadel of self-mastery, all other forms of power will grow. This is not philosophy. This is the foundation of empire. Kindness invites rebellion. Fear enforces obedience. This is not cruelty. This is reality. In this chapter, I will teach you how to use fear not as a blunt instrument, but as a precise tool of power. For in the arsenal of power, fear is the weapon that never needs to be fired to be effective. Here's what most people don't understand. Fear is not about violence or threats. It is about possibility. The fear of what might happen is always more powerful than the reality of what does happen. Master this principle, and you master the most. Fundamental tool of power. Consider this truth. Every stable power structure in history has been built on a foundation of fear, not terror. That is the tool of the amateur, not cruelty. That is the refuge of the weak. But calculated fear, the kind that whispers rather than shouts, that suggests rather than threatens. But let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful figures rarely need to make explicit threats? Their power lies in the understanding of what they could do, not what they actually do. This is the artistry of fear as a tool of power. The first principle of strategic fear is this: it must be predictable. Random fear creates chaos. Calculated fear creates order. People must understand exactly what actions will invoke your power and what behaviors will ensure their safety. This is not terrorism. This is governance. Learn to use silence as a weapon of fear. When others speak, when they justify, when they explain, remain quiet. Let them fill the silence with their own fears. Let their imaginations work for you. For the fear they create in their own minds will always be more potent than any fear you could impose. Understand this. Fear and respect are two sides of the same coin. Those who fear your capability will respect your power. Those who respect your power will fear your capability. One without the other is useless. Together, they are unstoppable. The second principle is selectivity. Fear must be used like a surgeon's scalpel, not a butcher's cleaver. Choose your moments. Choose your targets. Choose your methods. Each demonstration of power should be precise, purposeful, and proportional. This is how fear becomes respect. Here's a truth that the naive will never grasp. Kindness without fear behind it is perceived as weakness. Mercy without the capacity for cruelty is seen as powerlessness. To be truly kind, to be genuinely merciful, you must first establish your capacity for the opposite. Master the art of implied consequences. Learn to let your position, your reputation, your known capabilities speak for themselves. The truly powerful rarely need to make threats because everyone understands the price of opposition without it being stated. But beware, fear must never become terror. Terror creates desperation, and desperate people become dangerous. The fear you cultivate must leave room for hope, for safety through compliance. Those you rule must always see a path to security through obedience to your power. Study the mechanics of fear carefully. Notice how it spreads, how it mutates, how it reinforces itself. Learn to plant seeds of fear that grow on their own, that others water with their own anxiety, that bloom into a garden of cautious respect. Remember this: fear is not about making people afraid to act. It is about making them afraid to act against you. The distinction is crucial. Your use of fear should not paralyze, it should direct. It should not destroy initiative. It should channel it in ways that serve your power. The third principle is distance. Fear works best from a distance. Too close, and people either panic or become desensitized. Too far, and the fear loses its edge. Learn to maintain the perfect distance, close enough to be felt, far enough to be mysterious. Create systems that generate fear without your direct involvement. Build structures where consequences happen automatically, where your power operates without your presence. This is the highest form of fear as a tool, when it becomes self-sustaining. Here's what separates the masters of power from the pretenders. They understand that fear is not an emotion to be inflicted, but an atmosphere to be created. Like pressure in a room, it should be constant, subtle, and everywhere without being obvious anywhere. Learn to recognize the signs of effective fear: increased efficiency, improved compliance, reduced resistance, but also watch for the signs of excessive fear: paralysis, resentment, hidden rebellion. Adjust your pressure accordingly. This is not torture, this is calibration. The fourth principle is balance. Fear must be balanced with reward, with opportunity, with stability. Those under your power must understand that their safety, their prosperity, their success depends on their relationship with your authority. This transforms fear from a burden into a framework. Practice this art carefully. Start small. Build your reputation gradually. Let each demonstration of power serve multiple purposes. Let each example of consequence teach many lessons. This is how fear becomes not just a tool, but a language that speaks of your power. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about fear as a tool of power. It is not about making people afraid of what you will do to them. It is about making them afraid of what life without your protection, without your guidance, without your power would be like. Master this understanding, and you master the most fundamental dynamic of power. For where there is fear, there is respect. Where there is respect, there is order. And where there is order, there is power. Power is not rushed, it is ripened. In this chapter, I will reveal to you why the most dangerous weapon in your arsenal is not speed, but patience. For in the realm of power, timing is everything, and those who cannot wait will never truly rule. Here's what most people don't understand. Power accumulated slowly is power that lasts. Power seized hastily is power that slips away. The masses, drunk on ambition and ignorant of strategy, rush forward like blind bulls. The truly powerful move like hunters, watching, waiting, choosing their moment. Consider this truth: every great transfer of power in history has been preceded by a period of patience. While others exhausted themselves with premature actions, the eventual victors conserved their strength, studied the situation, and struck only when success was certain. But let me ask you this: how many opportunities have you wasted through impatience? How many advantages have you squandered by moving too soon? How many victories have you surrendered by refusing to wait? This is the amateur's curse, the inability to let power ripen before grasping it. The first principle of timing is this: power has its seasons. Like a farmer who understands the cycles of nature, you must learn to read the seasons of power. There are times to plant, times to tend, times to harvest, and times to let the field lie fallow. Ignore these seasons at your peril. Learn to recognize the signs of unripe power: resistance that's too strong, allies who aren't ready, resources that aren't in place. These are not obstacles to be forced. They are indicators to be heeded. The truly powerful understand that waiting is not weakness. It is wisdom. Master the art of strategic delay. When others rush to act, remain still. When others demand immediate response, take your time. When others show their hand, keep yours hidden. This is not indecision, this is control. For he who can wait holds power over he who cannot. Understand this: patience is not passive. While you wait, you watch. While you wait, you prepare. While you wait, you position. Every moment of delay should be filled with preparation. Every period of patience used to strengthen your position. This is active waiting, the strategy of the predator. Here's a truth that will serve you well: the right moment appears to the prepared mind. While others wait for luck, you create the conditions for success. While others hope for opportunity, you orchestrate it. Your patience is not the patience of hope. It is the patience of certainty. Study the natural rhythm of power in your domain. Every field, every industry, every arena has its cycles. Learn them, map them, use them. Your timing must align with these natural rhythms, these predictable patterns of rise and fall, strength and weakness. The second principle is momentum. When you finally move, move with absolute conviction. Your patience must be balanced with decisive action. All the power you have accumulated through waiting must be unleashed at precisely the right moment, like an arrow held at full draw. Remember this, the greatest power often lies in making others wait. When you control the timing, you control the game. Make others move at your pace. Make them wait for your decisions. Make them adjust their schedules to your calendar. This is power expressed through patience. Learn to recognize the perfect moment. It comes when resistance is weakest, when your resources are strongest, when your position is most secure. It comes not by chance, but by careful calculation. The master of timing creates these moments. They do not stumble upon them. But beware, delayed action must never be confused with missed opportunity. You must develop the wisdom to distinguish between patience that strengthens and hesitation that weakens. This comes through experience, through study, through careful observation of cause and effect. The third principle is preparation. Use your waiting time to eliminate variables, to secure resources, to strengthen alliances. Let others exhaust themselves with premature action while you build your foundation. Your patience should be like the calm before a storm, full of gathered power. Here's what separates the masters of timing from the slaves of impulse. They understand that time itself is a weapon. Every delay should serve your purpose. Every wait should weaken your opponents. Every moment of patience should increase your advantage. Master the art of timing in small things first. Practice strategic delay in minor decisions. Observe how waiting affects outcomes. Build your patience like a muscle, strengthening it through regular exercise. For the power to wait is the power to win. Learn to find pleasure in patience. There is joy in watching your opponents reveal themselves while you remain hidden. There is satisfaction in seeing opportunities ripen while others pluck them too soon. There is power in knowing that your wait serves your purpose. The fourth principle is certainty. When you finally move, there should be no doubt, no hesitation, no second guessing. Your patience should breed absolute conviction. For power delayed is power multiplied, but only if the delay is used to create certainty. Practice this discipline daily. Start with small delays. Build to larger ones. Train yourself to resist the urge for immediate action. Learn to savor the power that comes from making others wait while you choose the perfect moment. This is not procrastination. This is strategy. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about timing and power. It is not the swift who win, but the patient. It is not the first who triumph, but the last. It is not those who can strike quickly who achieve lasting power, but those who can wait until the moment is perfect. Master this understanding, and you master the very rhythm of power itself. For power, like time, flows not to those who chase it, but to those who know how to wait for it. Mercy is a luxury of the secure. In this chapter, I will teach you one of the hardest but most essential truths of power. There are moments when ruthlessness is not merely an option, it is a necessity. For in the game of power, hesitation at crucial moments is not kindness, it is weakness. Here's what most people don't understand. Ruthlessness, properly applied, is not cruelty, it is clarity. It is the ability to act decisively when circumstances demand it, to eliminate threats completely when half measures would only prolong danger. This is not savagery, this is surgery. Consider this carefully. Every great power structure in history has been maintained through moments of necessary ruthlessness. Not constant brutality, that is the mark of the insecure. Not arbitrary cruelty, that is the tool of the weak. But precise, decisive action when the moment demands it. But let me ask you this. How many times have you allowed a small threat to grow into a large one because you hesitated to act decisively? How often have you chosen comfortable half measures over necessary ruthlessness? How frequently has your reluctance to be harsh created greater harshness in the end? The first principle of ruthlessness is this: it must be rare. Like a powerful medicine, its effectiveness lies in its sparing use. Those who are constantly ruthless become predictable. Those who are selectively ruthless maintain power through uncertainty. Learn to recognize the moments that demand ruthlessness. They come when mercy would be interpreted as weakness, when negotiation would be seen as fear, when compromise would invite greater challenges. These are the moments when power must show its teeth. Understand this: true ruthlessness is not emotional, it is mathematical. It is not about anger or revenge or cruelty. It is about cold calculation of necessity. When you act ruthlessly, do so with the precision of a surgeon, not the passion of a butcher. The second principle is completeness. When ruthless action becomes necessary, it must be absolute. Half measures in these moments are more dangerous than no action at all. When you strike so thoroughly that retaliation becomes impossible. Here's a truth that the gentle-minded will never grasp. Sometimes mercy to one becomes cruelty to many. Sometimes sparing an enemy condemns an ally. Sometimes reluctance to act ruthlessly in one moment leads to the necessity of greater ruthlessness. Later, master the art of necessary elimination. Learn to remove threats not just physically, but completely: their resources, their connections, their influence, their very memory if necessary. This is not excess. This is thoroughness. For a threat half eliminated is a threat doubled. But beware! Ruthlessness must never become your primary tool. It is like a powerful weapon that becomes less effective with each use. Save it for moments when it is truly necessary. Your reputation for potential ruthlessness should be enough to handle most situations. Remember this: the most effective ruthlessness often looks like something else entirely. Sometimes it wears the mask of bureaucracy. Sometimes it appears as unfortunate circumstance. Sometimes it moves through legal channels. The truly powerful understand that ruthlessness need not be obvious to be effective. Learn to act without hesitation when the moment demands it. Doubt in these crucial moments is more dangerous than any action you might take. When you decide ruthlessness is necessary, commit to it completely. Let no sentiment, no past loyalty, no external pressure stay your hand. The third principle is justification. Your ruthless actions must always appear justified to those who matter. Not necessarily to everyone, that is impossible. But to those whose support you need, your ruthlessness must seem like the only reasonable choice given the circumstances. Here's what separates the masters of power from the brutes. They understand that ruthlessness is a precision tool, not a lifestyle. They use it surgically, strategically, and sparingly. They understand that its power lies not in frequency, but in certainty. The certainty that when they decide to be ruthless, they will be ruthless absolutely. Create systems that make your ruthlessness appear institutional rather than personal. Let your harsh actions seem to flow from policy rather than choice. This distances you from the emotional impact while maintaining the practical effect. The fourth principle is timing. Ruthlessness must be swift when it comes. No warnings, no threats, no negotiations. The moment you decide ruthlessness is necessary is the moment you must act. Delay in these situations is not wisdom, it is weakness. Practice this discernment carefully. Train yourself to recognize the rare moments when ruthlessness is truly necessary. Learn to distinguish between situations that require force and those that can be handled through other means. This judgment is crucial, for unnecessary ruthlessness is as dangerous as necessary mercy, for in the end, this is the ultimate. Truth about ruthlessness and power. It is not about being cruel, it is about being decisive. It is not about enjoying harsh action, it is about being capable of it when circumstances demand it. It is not about choosing to be ruthless, but about choosing not to be weak when weakness would be fatal. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most difficult requirements of power. For power without the capacity for ruthlessness is power waiting to be taken by those who possess that capacity. People follow symbols, not logic. In this chapter, I will reveal to you one of the most crucial dynamics of power, the art of simultaneously influencing the many while controlling the few. For true power lies not in managing everyone equally, but in understanding who must be controlled and who must be merely influenced. Here's what most people don't understand. The masses respond to imagery, to emotion, to grand gestures, while the crucial few respond to interest, to advantage, to calculated benefit. Master both approaches, and you master the full spectrum of power. Consider this truth. Every significant power structure in history has operated on two levels, a public face that speaks to the many, and a private reality that controls the few. This is not deception. This is the fundamental architecture of power. But let me ask you this. How many times have you exhausted yourself trying to control everyone? How often have you wasted energy managing those who need only to be influenced? How frequently have you failed to identify the crucial few whose loyalty actually matters? The first principle is this. The masses think in stories, not statistics, in emotions, not equations, in symbols, not subtleties. When you speak to the many, speak to their dreams, their fears, their hopes. Give them narratives that explain their world and their place in it. Learn to craft compelling narratives. The masses don't need detailed plans. They need compelling visions. They don't need complex strategies. They need simple truths. They don't need accurate histories. They need inspiring stories. This is not manipulation. This is leadership. Understand this. The masses are moved by what they believe, not by what is true. Your task is not to educate them. It is to direct them, not through lies, but through carefully chosen truths that serve your purpose. Select the facts that support your narrative. Emphasize the stories that strengthen your position. The second principle is identification of the crucial few. In any system, there are never more than a handful of people whose loyalty and cooperation truly matter. These are the ones you must control, not merely influence. These are the ones who require your personal attention. Here's a truth that will serve you well. Power flows through networks of influence. Identify the nodes in these networks, the individuals who control resources, command loyalty, or possess crucial skills. These are the few you must bind to you with bonds of interest, not just influence. Master the art of different languages. With the masses, speak in bold strokes, clear images, strong emotions. With the crucial few, speak in specifics, in advantages, in mutual interests. Let the many hear what they need to believe. Let the few understand what they stand to gain. But beware, never let the crucial few feel less important than the masses. While you may need public support, it's the loyalty of key individuals that maintains your power. Treat them accordingly. Let them see behind the curtain. Let them feel like insiders. Let them share in the real mechanisms of power. Remember this. The masses are fickle, but the few are faithful if their interests are aligned with yours. The many will follow whoever tells the most compelling story, but the few will stay loyal if their advantage depends on your success. Learn to manage both levels simultaneously. Create public spectacles that satisfy the masses while conducting private negotiations that secure the support of the crucial few. Let your public actions serve both purposes, inspiring the many while reassuring the few. The third principle is selective access. The masses should feel close to your image while remaining far from your person. The crucial few should have genuine access to your power, your decisions, your real thoughts. This distinction is essential, for familiarity with the masses breeds contempt, while distance breeds desertion from the crucial few. Here's what separates the masters of power from the mere performers. They understand that influence without control is unstable, and control without influence is unsustainable. They build systems that combine both, that appear democratic while remaining oligarchic, that seem open while staying selective. Create structures that automatically sort people into these two categories. Let your organization, your movement, your power structure naturally direct the masses toward influence and the few toward control. This should appear organic, not orchestrated. The fourth principle is balanced attention. While the masses require regular demonstrations of power, regular renewal of their faith through symbols and spectacles, the crucial few require constant tending. Never become so focused on public perception that you neglect those who actually maintain your power. Practice this balance carefully. Learn to move smoothly between the two modes, the public leader speaking to the masses and the private power, broker dealing with the crucial few. Master the art of being two things to two different groups consistently and convincingly. Understand that the masses need heroes while the few need partners. The many must see in you what they wish to become. The few must see in you what they wish to gain. This dual role is not dishonesty. It is the essence of leadership. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about influence and control. The masses will follow a story, but the few must follow their interests. Master both dynamics, and you master the full spectrum of power. For lasting power is built on the foundation of mass influence and secured through the loyalty of the crucial few. Remember, the many are moved by what they believe, while the few are moved by what they know. Manage both levels of understanding, and you manage power itself. Unity is a threat to authority. In this chapter, I will teach you one of the most ancient and effective principles of power, the art of division. For in the game of power, nothing is more dangerous than a unified opposition, and nothing more useful than carefully managed discord. Here's what most people don't understand. Division is not chaos. It is control. It is the careful management of rivalries, the strategic creation of conflicts, the artistic placement of wedges between potential allies. This is not destruction. This is architecture. Consider this truth. Every lasting power structure in history has maintained its position not by fighting unified opposition, but by preventing unity from forming in the first place. The amateur tries to defeat their enemies. The master keeps their enemies divided. But let me ask you this. How many times have you faced challenges that could have been prevented by earlier division? How often have you confronted unified resistance that could have been fragmented before it formed? How frequently have you allowed potential opponents to find common cause against you? The first principle of division is this: identify potential alliances before they form. Look for groups or individuals who might unite against you. Map out possible connections, shared interests, common grievances. This is not paranoia. This is preparedness. Learn to see patterns of unity forming. Watch for increased communication between separate groups. Notice growing sympathy between former rivals. Observe the emergence of common causes or shared complaints. These are not minor details. They are early warnings. Understand this: people unite through common interests or common enemies. Your task is to ensure that their interests remain divergent and that they see each other as greater threats than you. This is not manipulation. This is governance. The second principle is selective favor. Learn to support one faction just enough to make others jealous, but not enough to make it truly independent. Play rivals against each other by alternating your support. Let them compete for your favor, rather than unite against your power. Here's a truth that the naive will never grasp. Harmony is often more dangerous than conflict. Controlled conflict keeps potential opponents focused on each other rather than on you. It consumes their resources, divides their loyalty, and prevents effective cooperation against your interests. Master the art of creating dependent rivals. Each should be strong enough to challenge the others, but not strong enough to do without your support. Each should fear their rivals more than they resent you. Each should see you as a potential ally rather than a common enemy. But beware, division must never appear to come from you. Let it emerge seemingly naturally from the ambitions and fears of others. Your role should be that of mediator, not instigator. Let others blame each other for the conflicts you have carefully orchestrated. Remember this: information is a powerful tool of division. Share different information with different groups. Let each think they have your special confidence. Let each believe they know something others don't. This creates natural barriers to unity. Learn to identify and exploit natural fault lines. Every group, every alliance, every partnership has its internal tensions. Find these stress points, understand them. When necessary, pressure them, not to destroy, but to control. The third principle is balanced weakness. Keep all potential rivals weak enough that none can challenge you alone, but strong enough that they remain credible threats to each other. This balance is delicate but essential, for unity grows from either complete dominance or utter desperation. Here's what separates the masters of division from the crude practitioners. They understand that division must be sustainable. Creating temporary conflicts is easy. Building lasting, manageable rivalries that serve your interests requires subtle understanding and careful maintenance. Create systems that naturally generate division. Structure your organization, your territory, your sphere of influence so that competition is built into its very architecture. Let the system itself do the work of keeping potential opponents separated. The fourth principle is controlled communication. Manage the channels through which your subordinates, rivals, and potential opponents interact. Be the bridge between separated groups. Let all communication flow through you when possible. This is not obstruction. This is coordination. Practice this art carefully. Start with small divisions. Learn to create and manage minor rivalries before attempting larger ones. Observe how people react to division, how alliances form and break, how loyalty shifts under pressure. This knowledge is crucial. Monitor the balance constantly. Division can spiral out of control, creating chaos rather than control. Watch for signs that rivalries are becoming too bitter, that conflicts are becoming too costly, that desperation might drive unlikely alliances. Adjust your pressure accordingly, for in the end, this is the ultimate truth about division and power. United. Opposition is the greatest threat to authority, but disunity must be maintained with a careful hand. Too much division creates chaos. Too little allows unity. The art lies in maintaining just enough conflict to prevent effective cooperation against you while preserving enough order to maintain your control. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most fundamental tools of power. For power is not maintained by defeating united opposition, but by ensuring that opposition never unites in the first place. Make others need you. In this chapter, I will reveal one of the most subtle yet potent principles of power, the art of creating dependence. For true power lies not in forcing others to submit, but in making them unable to function without you. Here's what most people don't understand. Dependence is not about crude control or obvious dominance. It is about becoming so essential to others' success, so integral to their operations, so crucial to their ambitions, that the thought of opposing you becomes unthinkable. Consider this truth. Every enduring power structure in history has been built not on force, but on necessity. The strongest chains are those the prisoner doesn't want to break. The most loyal servants are those who cannot imagine life without their master. But let me ask you this. How many relationships in your life are based on choice rather than necessity? How many of your allies stay with you because they want to, rather than because they need to. How many of your subordinates could easily replace you? This is where true vulnerability lies. The first principle of creating dependence is this: identify needs before they arise. Learn to see not just what people need now, but what they will need tomorrow. Position yourself at the crossroads of their future necessities. This is not opportunism, this is foresight. Learn to create needs that only you can fill, not through coercion, but through capability, not through threats, but through excellence. Make yourself the best source, the most reliable ally, the most effective solution. This is not manipulation. This is value creation. Understand this: people resist obvious attempts at control, but they embrace useful dependencies. They fight against chains, but they welcome crutches. Your task is not to trap them, but to become so useful that choosing to do without you becomes increasingly difficult. The second principle is gradual escalation. Begin with small services, minor assistance, occasional support. Then slowly, systematically, increase their reliance on your capabilities. Let each step seem natural, each increase in dependence appear logical and beneficial. Here's a truth that will serve you well: the most powerful dependencies are those that people accept willingly, even eagerly. When they believe the relationship serves their interests, when they see their dependence as an advantage, they will defend the very chains that bind them. Master the art of invisible necessity. Make your support seem natural, your assistance expected, your involvement normal. Let them forget what life was like before you became essential. Let them lose the ability to imagine futures that don't include you. But beware, dependence must never feel like slavery. It must feel like partnership, like mutual benefit, like natural alliance. The moment people feel trapped is the moment they begin looking for escape routes. True dependence should feel like freedom. Remember this: expertise creates dependence, knowledge creates dependence, capability creates dependence. The more you know, the more you can do, the more others need you. Cultivate these advantages carefully. Make yourself irreplaceable through genuine mastery. Learn to make your presence essential, but your person humble. Let them depend on your function while feeling comfortable with your form. The iron fist of necessity must wear the velvet glove of familiarity. This balance is crucial for lasting dependence. The third principle is system creation. Build systems that naturally create and maintain dependence. Structure your operations, your relationships, your areas of influence, so that working with you is simply easier, more profitable, more secure than working without you. Here's what separates the masters of dependence from the crude controllers. They understand that the strongest dependencies are those that offer genuine advantage to both parties. They create situations where serving their interests becomes the best way for others to serve their own. Create networks of interlocking dependencies. Let each relationship reinforce the others. Build structures where attempting to break free from your influence means losing multiple advantages, multiple connections, multiple opportunities. This is not conspiracy. This is architecture. The fourth principle is maintenance. Dependencies must be maintained through constant attention, regular reinforcement, continuous demonstration of value. Never let them forget why they need you. Never let them imagine they could easily replace you. Practice this art carefully. Start with small dependencies. Learn to create and manage minor relationships of necessity before attempting larger ones. Watch how people react to increasing dependence, how they rationalize it, how they come to embrace it. This knowledge is essential. Monitor the balance constantly. Too much dependence creates resentment. Too little loses control. Watch for signs of resistance, for attempts at independence, for searches for alternatives. Adjust your approach accordingly. The goal is not to trap them, but to make freedom seem less attractive than continued dependence. Understand that different types of dependence require different approaches. Financial dependence needs regular reinforcement through rewards. Emotional dependence needs constant but varied attention. Professional dependence needs continuous demonstration of unique value. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about dependence and power. The strongest control is not achieved through force or fear, but through necessity. When others need you, truly, deeply, practically need you, you have power that no amount of coercion could achieve. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most sophisticated tools of power. For power based on force must be constantly maintained through strength, but power based on dependence maintains itself through others' own self-interest. Remember, the ultimate goal is not to be feared or even loved, but to be needed. For need survives both fear and love, outlasts both, threat and affection, and creates bonds that are harder to break than any chain. Noise reveals, silence dominates. In this chapter, I will teach you one of the most overlooked principles of power, the art of silent movement. For in the realm of power, those who speak loudly of their intentions telegraph their weaknesses, while those who move in silence preserve their strength. Here's what most people don't understand. Silence is not inaction. It is power, contained. It is the ability to operate without announcement, to achieve without advertisement, to accumulate power without drawing attention. This is not secrecy. This is strategy. Consider this truth. Every significant accumulation of power in history has happened largely unseen, like a river cutting through stone, not through sudden force, but through quiet, persistent action. The masses celebrate the waterfall, but the real power lies in the silent flow that created it. But let me ask you this. How many opportunities have you lost by announcing them prematurely? How often have you weakened your position through unnecessary disclosure? How frequently have you invited opposition by revealing your moves before they were complete? The first principle of silent movement is this. Let your actions speak after they are done, not before they begin. The world is full of those who broadcast their intentions, who seek approval before action, who need an audience for their ambitions. Let them make noise. You make progress. Learn to work beneath the surface. Like the roots of a tree that spread unseen but determine its strength, let your operations expand quietly. Let others see only the fruits of your labor, never the labor itself. This is not deception. This is discretion. Understand this. Every word you speak about your plans is a weapon you hand to your opponents. Every intention you reveal is a barrier you create for yourself. Every ambition you announce is a target you paint on your own back. The truly powerful keep their counsels private and their movements quiet. The second principle is strategic ambiguity. Learn to be present but not obvious, active but not visible, influential but not exposed. Let your position be clear, but your methods mysterious. Let your power be felt, but its full extent unknown. Here's a truth that the attention seekers will never grasp. Mystery magnifies power. When others cannot map your capabilities, they must assume them to be greater than they are. When they cannot track your movements, they must guard against possibilities rather than certainties. Master the art of indirect communication. Learn to convey messages through action rather than words, through results rather than announcements, through changes in the environment rather than direct statements. Let others discover your power rather than have you declare it. But beware, silence must never become isolation. You must maintain networks, gather information, stay connected to the flow of events. The art lies in receiving much while revealing, little in knowing everything while explaining nothing, in being present everywhere while being seen nowhere. Remember this, information flows toward silence. When you speak little, others speak much. When you reveal little, others reveal more. When you maintain mystery, others rush to fill it with disclosure. Use this natural law to your advantage. Learn to recognize the power of calculated absence. Sometimes the most effective move is to be temporarily invisible, to let others feel the void where your power usually resides. This creates anxiety in opponents and appreciation in allies. The third principle is delayed revelation. When you must reveal your movements, do so only after they are complete, only after your position is secure, only after reversal becomes impossible. Let others react to fait accompli rather than plans in progress. Here's what separates the masters of silent movement from the mere secretive. They understand that silence is not about complete concealment, but about strategic revelation. They know when to be invisible and when to be seen, when to be silent, and when to speak. Create systems that naturally protect information. Structure your operations so that knowledge is compartmentalized, so that movements are naturally obscured, so that power flows through hidden channels. This is not paranoia. This is architecture. The fourth principle is misdirection. When attention is unavoidable, direct it where it serves you best. Let others focus on the obvious while you operate in the overlooked. Let them watch your right hand while your left hand builds empire. Practice this art carefully. Start with small matters. Learn to keep your own counsel, to operate without announcement, to achieve without advertisement. Watch how others react to uncertainty, how they fill silence with assumption, how they respect what they cannot fully grasp. Monitor your environment constantly. Silence does not mean ignorance. Watch for signs that your movements have been detected, that your operations have been noticed, that your power has been mapped. Adjust your visibility accordingly. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about silence and power. The most significant movements happen unseen. The most important words go unspoken. The most effective power operates unnamed. Those who understand this truth build empires while others build audiences. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most subtle tools of power. For power that advertises itself invites challenge, but power that moves in silence creates its own reality before others even know it exists. Remember, the lion's footsteps are silent until the moment of the strike. Let this be your model. Let others roar about what they will do tomorrow, while you silently accomplish what you planned yesterday. Even allies have ambitions. In this chapter, I will reveal one of the most crucial truths of power. Betrayal is not an accident. It is an inevitability for those who fail to anticipate it. For in the game of power, trust is a tool, not a virtue, and loyalty lasts only as long as its rewards exceed its costs. Here's what most people don't understand. Betrayal does not come from enemies. It comes from those close enough to wound you. It grows not from hatred, but from opportunity. It springs not from malice, but from calculation. The greatest threats to power lie not outside your walls, but within them. Consider this truth. Every significant fall from power in history has come not from external assault, but from internal betrayal. Those who survived at the top were not those who trusted most wisely, but those who suspected most carefully. But let me ask you this. How many times have you been blindsided by betrayal that showed clear signs before it struck? How often have you ignored the subtle shifts in loyalty that preceded open defection? How frequently have you mistaken temporary alignment for permanent allegiance? The first principle of anticipating betrayal is this. Understand that everyone serves their own interests first. Loyalty, friendship, gratitude, these are real, but they are secondary to self-interest. This is not cynicism. This is clarity. Learn to read the signs of impending betrayal. Watch for subtle changes in behavior, for unusual questions, for information gathered that serves no immediate purpose. Notice who meets with whom, who shares what grievances, who suddenly shows interest in matters outside their domain. Understand this. Betrayal begins long before the act itself. It starts with small disloyalties, tiny breaches of trust, minor calculations of advantage. By the time betrayal becomes action, it has already been reality in thought for many days, weeks, or months. The second principle is proactive defense. Create systems that make betrayal costly, difficult, and dangerous. Structure your operations so that no single person can deal you a critical blow. Distribute power carefully. Maintain multiple channels of information. Keep alternative resources in reserve. Here's a truth that the trusting will never grasp. Loyalty must be made more profitable than betrayal. This is not about mere payment. It is about creating situations where serving you faithfully offers better opportunities than opposing you could ever provide. Master the art of testing loyalty without revealing suspicion. Create small challenges, minor tests, controlled situations that reveal character and intention. Watch not just for failure, but for how quickly and eagerly they pass these tests. Excessive loyalty can be as suspicious as disloyalty. But beware, paranoia is as dangerous as naivety. Those who suspect everyone eventually make enemies of everyone. Those who trust no one end up with no one to trust. The art lies in balanced vigilance, watching carefully while appearing confident, preparing for betrayal while rewarding loyalty. Remember this: information is your best defense against betrayal. Create networks of observation, systems of verification, channels of intelligence that keep you informed without making you appear suspicious. Let others know they are seen without knowing how closely they are watched. Learn to recognize the patterns of opportunity that breed betrayal. Watch for those who accumulate too much knowledge, too much influence, too much independent capability, not to prevent their growth, but to ensure it remains aligned with your interests. The third principle is strategic vulnerability. Sometimes, appearing slightly vulnerable in controlled ways prevents others from searching for real vulnerabilities. Let potential betrayers think they see your weaknesses while keeping your true strengths hidden. Here's what separates the masters of security from the merely paranoid. They understand that preventing betrayal is better than punishing it. They create environments where loyalty is the most attractive option, where betrayal seems not just dangerous, but unnecessary. Create systems that automatically detect unusual patterns. Structure your organization so that significant betrayal requires multiple participants, making conspiracy more difficult and discovery more likely. This is not distrust. This is design. The fourth principle is response preparation. Have plans ready for every possible betrayal. Know in advance how you would handle the defection of each key person, the loss of each crucial resource, the exposure of each vital secret. This is not pessimism. This is prudence. Practice this vigilance carefully. Start with small matters. Learn to notice minor disloyalties, to track subtle shifts in allegiance, to sense when ambition begins to outweigh loyalty. This awareness must become instinct, as natural as breathing. Monitor the balance of power constantly. Watch for those who accumulate too much authority too quickly, who build independent power bases, who cultivate separate loyalties, not to stop them, but to ensure their rise remains beneficial to your interests. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about betrayal and power. It is not a matter of if, but when and by whom. The truly powerful are not those who prevent all betrayal, for that is impossible, but those who make betrayal so difficult, so costly, and so futile that it remains in the realm of thought rather than action. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most critical aspects of maintaining power. For power that cannot defend against betrayal is power waiting to be taken, and position that cannot anticipate disloyalty is position waiting to be lost. Remember, trust is a tool of power, not its foundation. Use it carefully, test it regularly, and never let it become the only thing standing between you and disaster. For in the game of power, the truly loyal are rare, but the potentially disloyal are everywhere. He who controls the narrative controls the future. In this chapter, I will reveal one of the most sophisticated principles of power, the art of weaponizing information. For in the realm of power, truth matters less than perception, and knowledge is not merely power, it is ammunition. Here is what most people don't understand. Information is not neutral. It is a force that can be shaped, directed, and deployed. Every piece of knowledge is a potential weapon, every fact a possible tool, every secret a prospective lever of influence. This is not manipulation, this is strategy. Consider this truth. Every significant shift in power throughout history has been preceded by a shift in information control. Those who determine what others know determine what others think. Those who shape what others think shape what others do. But let me ask you this. How many times have you possessed crucial information but failed to use it effectively? How often have you known important truths but shared them carelessly? How frequently have you witnessed the power of information being used against you because you failed to weaponize it first? The first principle of information warfare is this: knowledge must be cultivated like a garden, selectively planted, carefully tended, strategically harvested. Not all information is equally valuable. Not all truths are equally useful. Not all knowledge serves your purposes. Learn to categorize information by its potential impact. Some knowledge is ammunition. Save it for the right moment. Some knowledge is armor. Keep it close to protect yourself. Some knowledge is currency. Trade it carefully for maximum value. Some knowledge is poison. Handle it with extreme care. Understand this: information flows naturally toward power, but power flows naturally toward those who control information. Create systems that make you the natural repository of crucial knowledge. Position yourself at the intersection of important information flows. This is not accident. This is architecture. The second principle is selective sharing. Learn to release. Information, like a master archer, releases arrows with precise timing, careful aim, and clear purpose. Every piece of knowledge shared should serve a specific goal, advance a particular strategy, create a calculated effect. Here's a truth that the transparent will never grasp. Partial knowledge can be more powerful than complete knowledge. When you control the flow of information, you control how others understand reality. Their decisions, their actions, their strategies all depend on what they think they know. Master the art of strategic revelation. Learn when to show complete knowledge to demonstrate power, when to reveal partial knowledge to shape decisions, when to feign ignorance to gather more information. Each approach is a tool. Each tool has its proper use, but beware, information is a double-edged weapon. Knowledge carelessly deployed can wound the wielder as easily as the target. Every piece of information you release creates ripples, generates reactions, spawns consequences. Calculate these effects before, not after. Remember this: timing transforms. Information's power, the same knowledge that is worthless today, may be priceless tomorrow. The same truth that is dangerous now may be protective later. Learn to store information like wine and know precisely when each vintage should be uncorked. Learn to create information hierarchies. Not everyone should know everything. Structure your organization, your relationships, your sphere of influence, so that information flows naturally to where you want it, stays where you need it, and stops where you require it. The third principle is narrative control. Information without interpretation is like an army without orders, powerful but directionless. Learn to shape the context in which information is understood. Control not just what people know, but how they think about what they know. Here's what separates the masters of information from mere collectors of facts. They understand that information is not just about knowing, it is about shaping understanding. They don't just gather knowledge. They craft narratives that make that knowledge serve their purposes. Create systems that naturally generate useful information. Structure your operations so that important knowledge flows automatically to you, so that crucial insights emerge naturally from your position, so that valuable information accumulates in your hands by design. The fourth principle is defensive. Information warfare. Learn to protect crucial knowledge, to identify and block information leaks, to control and direct the flow of intelligence. This is not paranoia. This is preservation of power. Practice this art carefully. Start with small pieces of information. Learn how different types of knowledge affect different people, how various truths can be deployed for various effects, how distinct pieces of information can be combined for maximum impact. Monitor the information environment constantly. Watch for changes in what others know, shifts in what others believe, alterations in how others understand. These changes are like weather patterns. They indicate what's coming and shape what's possible. Never forget, information can be manufactured. When crucial knowledge doesn't exist, it can be created. When necessary truths aren't available, they can be constructed. When important stories aren't being told, they can be written. This is not deception. This is creation of reality. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about information and power. Those who control knowledge control reality itself. For reality is not what exists. It is what people believe exists. And beliefs are shaped by the information they receive and the narratives they accept. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most sophisticated tools of power. For power based on force can be resisted, power based on wealth can be depleted, but power based on control of information shapes the very reality in which others operate. Remember, in the game of power, information is not just knowledge to be gathered. It is ammunition to be deployed, armor to be worn, currency to be traded, and territory to be controlled. Handle it accordingly. The storm favors the prepared. In this chapter, I will reveal one of the most vital principles of power, mental fortitude in the face of chaos. For in the realm of power, it is not the strongest who survive, nor the most intelligent, but those whose minds remain sharpest when others lose their edge. Here's what most people don't understand. Chaos is not your enemy. It is your opportunity. When others panic, when systems break down, when normal rules cease to function, this is when true power reveals itself. This is not optimism. This is strategy. Consider this truth. Every significant transfer of power in history has occurred during periods of chaos. Those who rise are not those who resist disorder, but those who learn to navigate it, to use it, to thrive within it. The truly powerful don't just survive chaos, they harness it. But let me ask you this. How many times has panic clouded your judgment at crucial moments? How often has uncertainty paralyzed your action when decisiveness was needed? How frequently has chaos caused you to retreat when you should have advanced? The first principle of mental hardening is this. Chaos is a constant. The appearance of order is an illusion. Once you truly understand this, once you accept it, not just intellectually but viscerally, you begin to operate on a different level from those who cling to the fiction of stability. Learn to see patterns in disorder, like a sailor reading the winds, like a general reading a battlefield. Develop the ability to discern the underlying currents beneath the surface chaos. This is not mysticism. This is mastery. Understand this. Mental resilience is not about being unmoved by chaos. It is about moving with it purposefully. It is about maintaining clarity when others become confused, maintaining purpose when others lose direction, maintaining control when others surrender to panic. The second principle is strategic calm. Learn to make chaos your natural environment. Train yourself to think most clearly, precisely, when circumstances are most confused. Let disorder become your ally, uncertainty your advantage, upheaval your opportunity. Here's a truth that will serve you well. The mind that remains stable in chaos becomes a reference point for others. When those around you lose their bearings, your clarity becomes a beacon. Your calmness becomes a source of power. Your stability becomes a foundation others seek. Master the art of thriving in uncertainty. Train yourself to make decisions with incomplete information, to act decisively in unclear situations, to maintain direction when all landmarks disappear. This is not recklessness. This is capability. But beware, Resilience must never become rigidity. The mind that is truly hardened against chaos remains flexible, adaptable, responsive. Like a tree that bends in the storm but does not break, your mental fortitude must combine strength with suppleness. Remember this: chaos creates opportunities that order conceals. When systems are disrupted, when normal barriers fall, when traditional limits disappear, this is when the prepared mind finds paths to power that others cannot see. Learn to use disorder as a screen for action. When others are distracted by chaos, advance your position. When others are paralyzed by uncertainty, implement your plans. When others are overwhelmed by complexity, execute your strategy. The third principle is mental preparation. Train your mind like a warrior trains his body, through regular exposure to controlled stress, through systematic expansion of capabilities, through continuous testing of limits. This is not punishment. This is strengthening. Here's what separates the masters of chaos from its victims. They understand that mental fortitude is not about eliminating stress. It is about building capacity. They don't avoid pressure. They learn to function under it. They don't escape complexity. They learn to navigate it. Create systems that maintain clarity in confusion. Develop routines that ground you in chaos. Principles that guide you in uncertainty. Practices that center you in disorder. This is not ritual. This is architecture of the mind. The fourth principle is strategic detachment. Learn to separate your observing mind from your experiencing mind. Let one part of you feel the chaos while another part analyzes it. Let one part face the storm while another charts the course through it. Practice this art daily. Start with small disorders. Learn to maintain clarity in minor confusion, to find opportunity in small chaos, to advance through limited uncertainty. Build your capacity gradually but consistently. Monitor your mental state constantly. Watch for signs of cognitive overwhelm, for moments of decision paralysis, for instances of emotional flooding. These are not weaknesses, they are feedback. Use them to gauge your progress and guide your training. Understand that different types of chaos require different mental responses. Financial chaos demands one kind of resilience, social chaos another, organizational chaos a third. Develop your mental toolkit accordingly. This is not specialization, this is preparation. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about mental fortitude and power. The mind that can maintain clarity in chaos, purpose in disorder, and direction in uncertainty possesses a power that no external circumstance can overcome. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most fundamental requirements of power. For power that depends on stable conditions is power waiting to be disrupted, but power that thrives in chaos is power that endures. Remember, the storm does not care who it destroys, but it inevitably favors those who have prepared to use its force. Let your mind become the eye of the hurricane, calm at its center, but able to direct the chaos that surrounds it. Pity is the death of dominance. In this chapter, I will teach you one of the most demanding principles of power, the necessity of exploiting weakness whenever it appears. For in the game of power, hesitation in the face of advantage is not mercy. It is failure. Here's what most people don't understand. Weakness is not just vulnerability, it is opportunity. Every gap in capability, every flaw in strategy, every crack in defense is not merely a defect to be observed, but an advantage to be pressed. This is not cruelty. This is necessity. Consider this truth. Every significant accumulation of power in history has come through the systematic exploitation of others' weaknesses. Those who rise to dominance are not those who wait for fair contest, but those who strike precisely where and when their opponents are weakest. But let me ask you this: how many opportunities have you lost through hesitation? How often have you seen weakness but failed to act decisively? How frequently have you allowed misplaced compassion to rob you of advantage? This ends now. The first principle of exploiting weakness is this: identification must become instinct. Train yourself to see vulnerability as naturally as a predator senses prey. Every interaction, every relationship, every situation must be automatically scanned for points of advantage. Learn to recognize the many faces of weakness. Sometimes it shows itself as obvious vulnerability, lack of resources, lack of allies, lack of capability. But often it appears more subtly: overconfidence, rigid thinking, emotional attachment, excessive ambition. Understand this: weakness is not static, it is dynamic. What is strength in one context becomes vulnerability in another. What protects in one moment exposes in the next. Your task is not just to find weakness, but to create circumstances where strength becomes weakness. The second principle is timing. Weakness is often temporary, advantage often fleeting. When you identify vulnerability, you must act with decisive speed. This is not haste, this is precision. Like a hunter who knows exactly when to strike, your timing must be perfect. Here's a truth that the merciful will never grasp. In the realm of power, unexploited weakness becomes strength against you. When you fail to press your advantage, you don't preserve your opponent, you preserve their opportunity to overcome that weakness and use it against you. Master the art of systematic exploitation. Learn to press advantage not just once, but repeatedly. Learn to turn initial weakness into cascading vulnerability. Learn to transform small openings into fatal exposures. This is not excess, this is thoroughness. But beware, exploitation must appear natural, not malicious. Your advances should seem like the logical progression of events, not targeted attacks. Let others rationalize their losses as circumstance rather than recognize them as strategy. Remember this: the most effective exploitation often comes disguised as assistance. Sometimes you strengthen one weakness to expose a greater one. Sometimes you help solve small problems to create larger ones. Sometimes you support growth in precisely the wrong direction. Learn to categorize weaknesses by their potential. Some vulnerabilities offer immediate advantage, but limited gain. Others require patient development, but offer systematic control. Some must be exploited quickly before they vanish. Others should be cultivated before they're used. The third principle is compound effect. Rarely exploit just one weakness. Look for vulnerabilities that connect, that reinforce each other, that create chains of advantage. This is not opportunism. This is strategy. Here's what separates the masters of power from the mere opportunists. They understand that exploiting weakness is not about winning single contests. It is about systematically dismantling opposition. They don't just seize advantages. They create systems that generate them, create frameworks that naturally expose weakness. Structure your operations, your relationships, your areas of influence so that vulnerability becomes visible, advantage becomes obvious, and exploitation becomes inevitable. This is not chance. This is design. The fourth principle is psychological exploitation. Learn to recognize mental and emotional weaknesses. They are often more crucial than physical or material ones. Pride, fear, greed, attachment, ambition, these are leverage points that can move mountains. Practice this art carefully. Start with small advantages. Learn to exploit minor weaknesses, to press small advantages, to turn slight edges into significant gains. Watch how others react to pressure, how they expose new vulnerabilities when initial ones are pressed. Monitor your targets constantly. Watch for signs of adaptation, for attempts at correction, for development of countermeasures. Adjust your approach accordingly. The goal is not to exploit a single weakness, but to maintain and expand advantage systematically. Understand that different types of weakness require different approaches. Financial vulnerability demands one strategy, emotional weakness another, strategic exposure a third. Develop your toolkit accordingly. This is not confusion. This is versatility. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about weakness and power. Those who cannot exploit advantage do not deserve to hold it. Power is not maintained by those who use it most morally, but by those who use it most effectively. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most crucial requirements of power. For power that hesitates to exploit weakness is power, waiting to be taken by those who will not hesitate. Remember, in nature, unexploited weakness becomes extinct through natural selection. In the realm of power, unexploited weakness becomes extinction through strategic necessity. Choose which side of that equation you will occupy. Even the wolf hunts with a pack. In this chapter, I will reveal one of the most nuanced principles of power, the art of strategic alliance. For in the realm of power, no one achieves greatness alone, but the truly powerful know how to use allies without becoming dependent on them. Here's what most people don't understand. Alliances are not friendships. They are force multipliers. Every partnership, every coalition, every alignment of interests must be viewed not through the lens of loyalty, but through the calculus of power. This is not cynicism. This is clarity. Consider this truth. Every significant empire in history was built not by isolated strength, but by strategic alliance. Those who rose highest were not those who stood alone, but those who knew exactly when to join forces, how to use partners, and, most importantly, when to break bonds. But let me ask you this. How many alliances have you formed based on emotion rather than strategy? How often have you maintained partnerships past their utility? How frequently have you allowed sentiment to override advantage in your choice of allies? The first principle of strategic alliance is this. Every partner must serve a specific purpose. Vague goodwill is not enough. Each alliance must bring definable advantage, resources, capabilities, influence, or protection. If you cannot name exactly what an ally provides, they are not an ally. They are a liability. Learn to categorize potential allies by their utility. Some provide immediate tactical advantage. Others offer long-term strategic value. Some serve as buffers against enemies. Others act as bridges to new opportunities. Know precisely what you need from each. Understand this. Alliances are temporary tools, not permanent bonds. They should last exactly as long as they serve their purpose, no longer. The moment an alliance costs more than it provides, it must be revised or terminated. This is not betrayal. This is management. The second principle is balanced dependence. Never allow any ally to become indispensable. Maintain multiple partnerships that provide similar benefits. Keep alternative alliances in development. Remember, the moment you cannot walk away from an alliance is the moment you become its servant. Here's a truth that the sentimental will never grasp. In the realm of power, there are no permanent allies, only permanent interests. Those who mistake strategic partnership for friendship inevitably find themselves sacrificing advantage for loyalty, trading power for sentiment. Master the art of alliance without attachment. Learn to build deep partnerships while maintaining emotional distance. Learn to inspire loyalty while preserving independence. Learn to coordinate closely while keeping separate capabilities. This is not deception. This is survival. But beware. Allies must believe in the partnership even if you see it as temporary. They must feel valued even if you view them as replaceable. They must sense permanence even if you plan for change. The art lies in making necessary illusions feel like genuine bonds. Remember this. The most valuable allies are often those who need you as much as you need them. Look for partnerships where mutual benefit creates mutual reliability, where shared advantages produce shared loyalty, where aligned interests generate natural cooperation. Learn to structure alliances with built-in safeguards. Create partnerships that naturally maintain balance, that automatically regulate dependency, that systematically preserve your freedom of action. This is not paranoia. This is architecture. The third principle is strategic positioning. Every alliance should improve your position in multiple ways. Beyond its primary purpose, Each partnership should create additional advantages: better information flow, increased influence, enhanced reputation, expanded options. Here's what separates the masters of alliance from mere networkers. They understand that partnerships are not just about combining resources, they are about creating new realities. They don't just add capabilities, they multiply possibilities. They don't just share strength, they generate power. Create systems that maximize alliance benefits while minimizing alliance risks. Structure your partnerships so that advantages flow naturally to you, risks are systematically buffered, and dependencies remain carefully controlled. This is not exploitation. This is engineering. The fourth principle is controlled distance. Learn to be close enough to maintain influence, but far enough to preserve independence. Close enough to share advantages, but far enough to avoid contamination by problems. Close enough to coordinate, but far enough to separate when necessary. Practice this art carefully. Start with small alliances. Learn to form, maintain, and when necessary, dissolve partnerships in minor matters before attempting major ones. Watch how others handle alliance dynamics, how they balance cooperation with independence, how they manage competing interests. Monitor your alliances constantly. Watch for shifts in power balance, for changes in utility, for evolution of interests. Adjust your investment and involvement accordingly. The goal is not to maintain alliances at any cost, but to maintain their value at acceptable cost. Understand that different types of allies require different management approaches. Some need constant attention, others perform best with minimal contact, some thrive on detailed coordination, others work better with general alignment. Adapt your methods accordingly, for in the end, this is the ultimate truth about alliances. And power, no one achieves greatness alone, but those who achieve lasting power are never truly dependent on anyone. The art lies not in avoiding alliances, but in mastering them, using them without being used by them. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most sophisticated tools of power. For power isolated is power limited, but power allied is power multiplied, if and only if those alliances serve your interests rather than drain them. Remember, the wolf hunts with the pack not out of loyalty, but out of strategy. Let this be your model. Use allies when they multiply your strength. Work alone when they would divide it, and never let any bond become a chain. Greatness is not improvised. In this chapter, I will reveal one of the most fundamental principles of power, the absolute necessity of meticulous planning. For in the realm of power, those who rely on fortune are destined to be ruled by those who rely on preparation. Here's what most people don't understand. Chance is not a factor. It is an excuse used by the unprepared. Every significant outcome can be shaped. Every crucial moment can be anticipated. Every critical variable can be controlled. This is not perfectionism. This is power. Consider this truth. Every lasting empire in history was built not on luck, but on relentless preparation. Those who maintained power were not those who hoped for the best, but those who planned for every possibility, especially the worst. But let me ask you this. How many opportunities have you lost through lack of preparation? How often has unexpected circumstance derailed your plans? How frequently have you blamed chance for what was actually predictable chaos? The first principle of eliminating chance is this: everything that can be controlled must be controlled. Every variable that can be managed must be managed. Every outcome that can be influenced must be influenced. This is not obsession. This is methodology. Learn to see the components of every situation. Break down complex challenges into their constituent parts. Identify every element that can be controlled, every factor that can be influenced, every aspect that can be shaped. This is not analysis. This is dissection. Understand this: preparation is not about predicting the future, it is about shaping it. It's about creating conditions where desired outcomes become probable and unwanted outcomes become unlikely. This is not prophecy. This is engineering. The second principle is systematic elimination of variables. For every goal, identify all possible points of failure. For every plan, map out all potential disruptions. For every strategy, anticipate all probable obstacles. Then systematically eliminate, control, or prepare for each one. Here's a truth that the optimists will never grasp. Hope is not a strategy. Confidence is not preparation. Belief is not a plan. In the realm of power, only methodical, exhaustive preparation deserves trust. Everything else is gambling with your future. Master the art of scenario planning. Learn to see not just what should happen, but what could happen. Learn to prepare not just for the likely, but for the possible. Learn to be ready not just for opportunity, but for disaster. This is not pessimism. This is prudence. But beware, preparation must never become paralysis. The goal is not to eliminate all risk. That's impossible. The goal is to understand, control, and prepare for risk so thoroughly that action becomes confident and success becomes probable. Remember this, the most effective preparation often looks like paranoia to the unprepared. Let them mock your attention to detail. Let them dismiss your contingency plans. Let them call your thoroughness excessive. Time will prove who was wise. Learn to build systems that automatically reduce risk. Create processes that naturally eliminate variables. Develop structures that systematically increase control. This is not just planning. This is architecture of certainty. The third principle is layered preparation. Never rely on a single plan, a single pathway, a single solution. Build redundancy into everything. Create backup systems for your backup systems. Develop alternative routes to every crucial objective. This is not waste. This is security. Here's what separates the masters of preparation from mere planners. They understand that preparation is not about having a perfect plan. It is about being ready for imperfect reality. They don't just prepare for what should happen. They prepare for what could happen. Create frameworks that make preparation automatic. Structure your operations so that thorough planning becomes the natural way of doing things, so that comprehensive preparation becomes routine, so that leaving nothing to chance becomes instinct. The fourth principle is continuous refinement. Every plan must be constantly reviewed, every preparation regularly tested, every system frequently challenged. What worked yesterday may fail tomorrow. What's secure now may become vulnerable later. Practice this discipline religiously. Start with small matters. Learn to prepare thoroughly for minor objectives before attempting major ones. Watch how others fail through lack of preparation, how they stumble through uncontrolled variables, how they fall through unforeseen circumstances. Monitor your preparation constantly. Test your plans against new realities. Challenge your assumptions regularly. Update your contingencies frequently. The goal is not to create perfect plans, but to maintain preparation that evolves with circumstances. Understand that different objectives require different levels of preparation. Some goals demand exhaustive planning. Others need flexible frameworks. Some require detailed contingencies. Others need general principles. Adapt your preparation accordingly. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about preparation and power. Those who leave things to chance eventually become victims of those who leave nothing to chance. Power does not flow to the lucky. It flows to the prepared. Master this understanding, and you master one of the most fundamental requirements of power. For power based on chance is power waiting to be lost, but power based on preparation is power designed to endure. Remember, fortune favors the prepared not because they are lucky, but because they have eliminated luck from the equation. They succeed not because fate smiles on them, but because they have left fate no choice in the matter. Power fades if it is not fortified. In this final chapter, I will reveal the ultimate principle of power. the art of building structures that outlast you. For in the realm of power, true greatness lies not in what you achieve, but in what you establish, not in what you take, but in what you create. Here's what most people don't understand. Legacy is not about memory. It is about mechanism. It's not about being remembered. It's about creating systems that continue to execute your will long after you've ceased to exercise it directly. This is not vanity. This is architecture. Consider this truth. Every enduring power structure in history was built not for the present, but for the future. Those who created lasting impact were not those who merely accumulated power, but those who institutionalized it, who transformed personal influence into systematic control. But let me ask you this. How many of your achievements are dependent on your personal presence? How much of your power would survive your absence? How many of your structures would stand without your constant attention? This is where true vulnerability lies. The first principle of legacy building is this: personal power must become institutional power. Your influence must be embedded in systems. Your control must be encoded in structures. Your will must be woven into frameworks that operate independently of your presence. Learn to transform temporary advantage into permanent structure. Every victory should create not just immediate gain, but lasting change. Every success should establish not just current benefit, but future capability. This is not opportunism. This is architecture. Understand this: true legacy is not built on loyalty to you, but on alignment with the systems you create. People change, memories fade, gratitude expires, but well-designed structures continue to function. This is not cynicism. This is reality. The second principle is self-perpetuation. Create systems that naturally maintain and extend themselves. Build structures that automatically recruit their own defenders, that inherently reward those who preserve them, that systematically eliminate threats to their continuation. Here's a truth that will serve you well. The most powerful legacy is one that others believe serves their interests. When people support your structures not out of loyalty to you, but out of dedication to their own advantage, you have created something truly lasting. Master the art of institutional design. Learn to create frameworks that balance stability with adaptability, that combine rigid core principles with flexible execution, that maintain their essence while evolving their form. This is not contradiction. This is sophistication. But beware, legacy building must never appear self-serving. Your structures must seem to serve broader interests, to fulfill larger purposes, to benefit wider constituencies. Let others see your creations as essential infrastructure rather than personal monuments. Remember this: the strongest legacy is one that others believe they own. When people feel they have a stake in your structures, when they believe they share in your systems, when they think they participate in your power, they will defend it as their own. Learn to embed your principles in procedure. Transform your strategies into policy. Convert your methods into methodology. This is how personal wisdom becomes institutional practice, how individual power becomes structural authority. The third principle is generational thinking. Plan not just for your successor, but for their successor. Design not just for the next phase, but for the next era. Build not just for immediate future, but for distant possibility. This is not dreaming. This is dynasty. Here's what separates the builders of legacy from mere holders of power. They understand that true power is not about personal dominance. It is about creating self-sustaining systems of influence. They don't just exercise power, they engineer it, create mechanisms for power transmission, develop systems for knowledge transfer, build structures for capability preservation. Your legacy must include not just what to do, but how to do it. Not just what to preserve, but how to preserve it. The fourth principle is adaptive resilience. Your structures must be able to evolve without disintegrating, to change without losing their essential character, to adapt without abandoning their core purpose. This is not compromise, this is survival. Practice this art patiently. Start with small structures. Learn to build lasting influence in limited domains before attempting larger legacies. Watch how others' creations endure or fail, how systems survive or collapse, how power structures persist or perish. Monitor your legacy constantly. Test your structures against new challenges. Evaluate your systems in different conditions. Assess your frameworks under various pressures. The goal is not to create perfect institutions, but to build adaptable ones. Understand that different aspects of power require different preservation strategies. Some elements need rigid protection. Others require flexible evolution. Some demand strict continuation. Others thrive on controlled innovation. Design accordingly. For in the end, this is the ultimate truth about legacy and power. True power is not measured by what you control today, but by what continues to execute your will tomorrow. It's not about what you can do, but about what you can set in motion that continues without you. Master this understanding, and you master the final test of power. For power that dies with its holder is merely temporary influence, but power that outlives its creator becomes a force that shapes the future. Remember, the greatest leaders are not those who accumulate the most power in their time, but those who create structures that continue to project their power long after their time has passed. Build not for your lifetime, but for the ages.